today's lesson, we'll resume our website. Um, this is the part which we stopped at last time when we tried to do Git, but everyone was struggling. So we'll stop doing Git and we'll go back to doing the website. As an FYI, I'll post the code on Slack afterwards. So if you can't keep up, that's okay. The code will be available on Slack. So yes, so this is where we were last time. I think we had a vote. How's it going? Hope I saved it. We had a voting system. Sorry. Yes, we had a voting system, and then I think I asked you guys what you wanted to do. Some of you mentioned clothing website, and I think some of you mentioned entertainment, and then some of you mentioned so something else miscellaneous that we didn't, which I forgot, but we'll all do it together. We'll do it as one big project. Okay, so as I was explaining to you guys from last time, that we want to do a modern website. So what does a modern website look like? It's fairly straightforward. As if my internet can work. All right, here we go. Okay, so modern web pages, they tend to have what you call hero images, where you're greeted by this really massive screen. So at the start, you have this big screen. So for us, because it says clothing, sorry, Miss Carol. I think that was yes, Salim, sorry, what's your question?
Um, so should we copy what you're doing?
If you can, you can copy. If you want to wait, I'll post the code on Slack.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can be fast enough to keep up, I encourage you to do it. But I know most of you will probably struggle, so you can probably wait for the code to be on Slack, or you can follow along, then watch the lesson and try and do it again in your spare time, if that helps. But I promise you the code will be on Slack after this lesson. Okay. Apologies. Okay, so let's get into it. So I was saying a modern website would look like, sorry, you can't see it. It's on the other screen. So you'd have like a big screen there when you first get to the website. See, so you'd have this big thing here. There's a colored lib. So in our case, because it's a clothing thing, we had this girl. I remember we had a debate, so we had this girl. This is our main image. Okay, all right. I hope you guys can hear me. It's saying my internet connection is unstable. If I'm sounding like a robot, please tell me. Yep. So this is the image right there. So if I comment this out, see, it goes away. Okay. So we've already got this. Now, our next step, the next step that we want to do is we want to create the header. So if you remember, you probably don't remember, but I'll remind you again. So the way we structure our HTML page is semantically. And what does that mean? It means that if you want your website to perform very well, if you want to write websites that pop up in the search, you have to do things which Google will understand. I can see your hand is up, Salam. Sorry, what's your question?
What is semantic?
I just explained. Semantics is writing code which Google will understand.
Okay.
So, so if you're interested, I'll encourage you in your spare time, just search semantics HTML and you'll come up here. You can read it. Semantic HTML is the use of HTML markup to reinforce the semantics of meaning or information in web pages and web applications rather than merely to define its presentation or look. Semantic HTML is processed by traditional web browsers as well as by many other user agents. So in your spare time, I encourage you to read, but obviously if you have questions, sorry, Kuba. When you say, can you please make my screen bigger? Which one are you referring to? You're on mute. Sorry, you're on
Sorry?
mute. Yeah, well, which screen are you referring to?
The
The
Google
Chrome,
Chrome.
this one, like this.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll write it in the chat. I'll write it in the chat, and I'll also write it in the semantics. I'll write it in there so you guys can also read in your spare time if you have any questions as well. So I'll give you the link to anyone who might have interest as well. It'll explain everything. It'll teach you what's that and what needs to be done. So as I was showing you, we need a header. Okay, we need a navigation node, we need a section, and we need a footer, which is pretty standard, pretty basic. Okay. So since we've got our hero image, the next thing we need to do is we need to have a header. Okay. And then what is our header going to consist of? Very simple. We're going to have our navigation node. Now, what's a navigation? Is think of navigation. Think of this as navigation. Okay, so navigation is almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? A guide. It's almost like a map that guides you on where to go. Like, so if I click CSS, it'll take me to a page about CSS. If I click JavaScript, it'll take me to a page about JavaScript. Sorry, is anyone struggling to understand what I'm saying? So navigation is like a guide. It's like a map. So navigation in its purest form, navigation. So navigation is the art and science of determining the position of a ship, plane, or other vehicle, guiding you to a specific destination. So in web designing and navigation is a way to guide you through the website. That's what it means. So I'll respond to a message and say, in navigation, nav node is a guide to your website using links. So previously we did anchor tags, if you guys remember them. So if you remember things like home, about, and contact, for example, like this. So we had those. So this is a navigation. So what it means is if we click about, it will take us to a section in our website or a page which is about us. if we click contact, it will take us to a page or a section about contacting us. All right. Is anyone confused by this definition? I'm happy to repeat that. All right, awesome. So, let's see. We want to have a yes. I heard someone. That's okay. So we want to have a tag for home. Then we want to have a tag for let's just go about, okay. And then we want to have another tag for there was something else that we mentioned. Okay, I'll skip that for now. I'll put entertainment, okay. And then I will also put contacts. All right. Contacts. Okay. So I can't remember if this was Roblox or something. Must have been, but I'll just put it there. Okay. All right. So we've got this. We've got this navigation here, but we want to make it look pretty, obviously. Okay. Goodbye. You're mentioning it. Can you see now? Can you please confirm if you can see?
Your Visual Studio Code is really tiny, so I can't see what you're writing.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So sorry about that. So now, what I'll do is I'll right click inspect because this is the element here. Okay. So the idea, I'll probably take this off there because I want you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay, so the idea, if you looked at one of the modern websites, okay, it had the so if you look at this, okay, so you see this picture. Well, you can't see it, but I'll open it. Yeah, so you see this. So you've got the background, you've got the background image, then you've got the header. Now you've got the header, which is on top of the image. So we want to have something that looks like this. Okay. So we want to have something that looks oh. All right. Yeah. So we want to have something that looks like this. So you'd have your heading and your navigation at the top, on top of this image. So remember, we've got this girl here. We don't want the girl to be overlapped by something. So we want to make sure that we get this to be on top of this image. How do we do that? Simple. So the first thing we do, because this is the element, and Kupa, I apologize if you can't see this. You maybe have to refer to the video afterwards, but I've made it as big as I can for the Chrome DevTools.
I can't see.
For the header, I'm going to quickly check. Hello?
I can't see behind that white block.
No, that's okay. I'm using the white block. This is where I'm doing my code. If you look carefully, this is where I'm doing my code just now. Salim is the one who's drawing on my screen. Yeah. So if I go border, I want to then go background. So for the background of the header, I want to make it transparent, okay? Transparent means there's no color. Okay. Imagine if I say background red, it'll turn red. But if I go transparent, it's no color there. All right. Now you might be saying, well, why is it still white? It's because the navigation by default, it takes a background color. So we'll change that. We'll change that very soon. The other thing we need to do is we need to set the position of the header on top. So it stays on top of the screen. Now, I'll demonstrate something so it makes sense. Imagine our page is massive, okay? I'll make this page really, really long, okay? So we're scrolling down. We want to be able to keep this header with us every time we move down the page, okay? It's helpful because imagine if you have a really long page, you don't want to scroll back up just to open the header. All right. It's Salim, I can see your hand. Sorry, what's your question?
I cannot see the girl nice face.
Yes. In the evening, in the morning.
I only see her blue hair and the spot.
Is that
I
so?
don't
You can
see
only
her.
see the girl.
I don't see the face.
Oh yeah, you can't see the face because Cooper wants me to zoom in. This is how it would look. But since Cooper can't see, I have to zoom in. So it affects the size. So if I go back to how it was, this is what it would look like. If I zoom in, it will affect it in a sense. Don't worry. I'll give you the code. Once I give you the code, you'll play with it. You'll make sense of everything. It'll look pretty on your machine. I promise you that. Right. So I was saying, imagine we want to keep this header with us as we scroll down. So how do we do that? Simple. We use a CSS property called position. Okay. And there's so many of these. There's position absolute, position fixed, position inherit, initial relative, static sticky, and everything else in between. Now, that's all fine. I'll explain maybe one or two of these, okay? So we want to use fixed, okay? So I'll put position fixed, for example. Immediately, you should notice that it's changed. It doesn't have its background anymore. And if I scroll down, the header stays there. Do you notice that? Okay. So the heading is fixed in the page. Okay. Now you can achieve the same thing with another property called sticky. All right. Like this, but sticky, you'd have to provide it a position of top 0 and it will do the same thing. Okay. So with sticky, what it does is it takes up space on the page. All right. It will take up space on the page. But we don't want that. We want the header to sit on top of the entire page. So this is when we do position fixed, because that way the image is behind the heading, because we want to achieve this. Okay, remember that. This is the look that we want to achieve. Yes, I will send the code, Cooper. So I've always made it a guarantee that every time I do code, I'll send it. That's why I thought learning Git would have helped, but Git was too difficult for you guys. So I'll go back to giving you code via Slack. So after this lesson, I'll post the code via Slack. Yes. So we go back, position fixed. Remember that. If you want to play with the code, when you get it, just open it, go to DevTools, okay? right click, inspect, all right? And then just go through this and turn it off, you see? If you click these things, these arrows here, you can turn off things and see how they behave. This is how you can learn what's happening, you know, in this entire process, okay? So position fixed, top 0. We also want the left position to be 0, okay? So the way numbers work in computers. Yes, Audrey, sorry, you have a question?
So it's not a question, but
Mm.
why do you have the red border? No.
Oh, the red border thing.
So it's not nice.
No. It's not permanent. It's for visual purposes, so I can see what's happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Think of it. So remember how I taught you guys to do console.log in JavaScript?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the equivalent of the console.log in CSS.
So can you change the color?
Okay, which color do you want?
Let's see. Purple. Does it show?
Pur-
No.
Purple's there. Purple works. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, purple for you. All right, thank you. So yeah, the border thing is just temporarily. I'll delete this line when I'm finished. It's just for me to see how wide things are and where they sit. Yeah, but thank you for the suggestion. So yes, I was going to mention that in computers, numbers tend to go from the top left of your screen to the so from the top left, that is, it goes from where my mouse is right now. Okay. So like down on here and then sideways from left to right as well. So imagine if I say it 20 pixels here. Okay. You see, it's already going down. All right. And if I go 20 pixels again, it's already going that way. So numbers start in the top left always. Whenever you work with numbers in CSS, they always go from the top left of your screen. Hence why I say 0, 0. Okay. Okay. Now we want the width. We want this to fill up the whole screen because look at it. If we leave it like this, it's not full screen and that looks hideous. All right. So how do we do that? Easy. So on our header, we go width and then we go 100%. Now, what does 100% mean? So instead of us trying to figure out if this is how many pixels, like 600, 500, or even if we display our website on the phone, on a mobile phone, for example, we don't have to worry about how big or how wide the phone is. If we say width 100%, it takes care of that problem. Imagine we say width and then we say it's, so you see how here it's 414 pixels? Let's put 414 pixels and see what happens. The width is perfect here. You see, the width is perfect here, but let's go back to our desktop. You see, it doesn't look right. Okay. It's only halfway. Maybe Kupa can't see, but I'll put a background color for you so you can see. So I'll put white. You see that, Kupa? So if we don't do with 100%, this is how big the header is. So instead of trying to do the maths ourselves, we'll let CSS do it for us by saying 100% like this. Okay. Right, so that's that, and I will get rid of the border, okay? And then I will copy this into VS Code. All right, so let's put it here. We go header, and then, oh, sorry. Maybe I'll just paste it there. All right, cool. Now let's change the color of this from purple to white because we want something that's tangible. Now I'll quickly do something. So I want this image to be a bit dark. For right now, it's too bright. We want it to be a bit dark, okay? Like this. We need it to have a little shade on top. And then how do we do that? Simple. So let's inspect this. So this is our image, okay? Now, I want to show you something because remember I did talk about position. So I went position before. And then all these options came up, and then I want to show you something which is very cool. Now, in order for us to get this image to be a bit dark, rather than being this, rather than it being this bright, we need to have a little black tint all over it. Okay. So what we'll do. Sorry, just bear with me while I do that. Okay. What we'll do is we'll take this and then we'll do a pseudo class called for. Okay. Now this might be a bit confusing, but I'll explain to you guys in detail what it is. So our element is a div tag called with a class called hero image, right? But let's say we want to have a another how should I put it in words? We want to have a how should I put it? All right, let me do it and then I'll explain to you. Okay. So let's go. So I did content and they did blank. Okay, because you can either do something called before or after. Okay, and then I'll show you guys what these are in a second. They're called pseudo classes. Okay, so if you go CSS, pseudo classes. Okay, so these are what they're called. These ones. Yeah. So full screen, picture in picture, indeterminate. Or was it called pseudo elements now? Pseudo elements before, after, yeah, these ones. Right, okay, here we go. So a CSS pseudo element is used to style specific parts of an element. There you go. So you can either insert picture here, but what if I wanted to insert words before the image, right? So let's put Koopa is here, for example. You probably can't see it, but I'll quickly show you. I'll go display, none. You see, it's written the words Koopa is here. Yeah, you can't see it, so I'll make it bigger. Font size, 30 pixels, color, white. And then background, black. Yeah, see? So it's allowed me to insert text before the content that's rendered in the div class, okay? And subsequently, you can do the same thing for what's called after. So you can go hero, image, hero, image, after. And then for this content, we'll say Salem is there, okay? And then you see, now it's rendered Salem is there. So now you've got before and you've got after, okay? So we just go font size, 20 pixels, color, red, background, yellow. I'm just messing around here just to show you. Okay. So
I don't like it.
no, this is an experiment. It's not final. So these elements here, we've inserted them on top of the hero image. So right then and there, you should get a hint that if we want to make the background slightly darker, we should make this full width and full height, okay? So how about we go ahead and do that? Let's go with 100%, and let's go height 100%. Now, you might be asking me, well, so it's not working. Why is that? Good question. So you need to give it a position, okay? So remember our header, we gave it a position of sticky, okay? Which was that. So it sticks to the page. If we make it bigger again, I'll show you. So our header sticks to the page when we scroll. So it's always there, available for our use, right? Now, we want Coupa to be above this image. How do we do that? Okay, we did say width 100%, height 100%, but it's not working. Why is that? Simple. Let's just give it a position of absolute. Okay. So now the position is absolute. That is, it's above the image right now. Okay. So the pseudo element we created, we inserted, is above the hero image that we have. And in order to fix that, we use something called opacity. Now, Coupa, you probably don't remember, but I remember you asking me a question of what's the opposite of transparency, okay? And I mentioned that it's something called opaque, right? Where you can see that opaque stops any light from going through, and transparency allows things to go through. So an example of something that's transparent in your day-to-day life is glass, okay? Windows, like, windows in a home. So when you wake up and you open the curtains, all right, the sun shines on the window and it goes through into your house. This is what transparency is, all right? And then something that's opaque is something like, let's say opaque window. Let's see what it says. Yeah, you see, it doesn't let anything go through. It's like your bathroom window, which no one can see what's on the other side. Okay, so it stops the light going through. So in this instance, instead of us having a full-blown color, we limit the opacity. We go opacity, which is a synonym of opaque. So we go opacity, which is between the numbers 0 and 1. So let's start from 1 and see what it does. Nothing. And let's go 0.9. Something happened. See? You can start to see a little bit of the hair. 0.8. You can start to see the hair clearly now. Okay? Let's go 0.5. You see now? See what's happening? If I turn this off, it goes dark, okay? So the opacity, we can control it with this, okay? So maybe let's go 0.75, and let's see how that looks. Hey, there you go. You see what I did? There we go. Now we have a full-blown, shade on top of our image. And then all we have to do is make this blank, okay? So we get rid of the text. We get rid of the font size because we don't need that. Alrighty, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. So let's copy this. Actually, before I forget, position absolute also takes the dimensions of the element. So let's go top 0. Okay, and then let's go left 0. All right. And remember previously we specified width 100%. If we don't have width, it's going to look like this black strip over here. Sorry, Cooper, I zoomed out there. it's going to have this black strip on the side here, if you can see it. So we want width 100% for it to fill up the entire width. And we wanted to do the same for the height. Okay, so the height fills up the entire thing. Just 5 more minutes, Salim, and then you can go to the park. Right, so let's do this, and then I'll copy that. And then I'll put this back to the side. Okay. So I hope it made sense when I tried to explain pseudo elements. And remember, I'll put all of this in the Slack so you can go and read what these are, what are semantic elements and everything else. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Salim, now we've got 4 minutes left. All right. 4 minutes left. Okay. So let's save that. Now we have a risk of this black shade running over this image and not exactly playing fair. So what do we do? So on our hero image, this div tag, we want to add position relative. So position relative means this image is always going to be relative to its position on the screen at all times, okay? And despite this being absolute, meaning we can put it at 50% and this at 50%, okay? It's always going to be bound by this image. You see there? See how it's gone over there? That's pretty bad. We don't want that, okay? So we always want it to be stuck inside the image dimension. All right. Cool. Now our header is missing. Sorry, our header looks to be on. And how do we get that back? Simple. So we gave it a position of fixed, but we need to give it a Z index. Now, what's a Z index? Z index is essentially CSS's way of stacking things on top of each other. Now, what is a stack? So let's have a look and see what the stack is. All right. So stacking is the idea of putting things on top of each other. Okay? So that's pretty terrible. Sorry, I'll find images slightly bigger. Okay. Right, okay. This one should do the Figma. All right. So in order for us to, let's say, see, yeah, some of them are already gone, Salim, unfortunately. Like Miss Carol, she's gone. So in order for us to see this purple square in front of us, so imagine this is in front of you before your eyes, you're looking from this way. You're going to see this in front of this orange shape, okay? And the blue shape. Hello? Oh, Mr. Phillips not muted. Okay. So yeah, so we want to be able to see the purple box always above the orange box using what's called an index. It's called perception. It's called perspective. Right? It's called perspective. Yeah, that. So if you ever had the illusion of you go into a room and you want to see things which are further away or things in front of you. So the reason we can see this house here versus whatever that shape over there is because of depth. It's because of perspective. Yes. Oh, sorry, Cooper. Thanks for coming. If you have to go for dinner, then yeah, that's cool. We've only got 2 minutes, so you can leave now if you have to, though. Yeah. Same thing for Salim. If you have to go for dinner now, you can also do so. We've literally got 2 minutes left, and then the lesson's finished. All right. Yeah. So the Z index is basically we want to see the header above or before everything else here. So that's the last thing I'll do. And then I'll just make it very high. I'll make it a very high number. And I'll say 20,000. So it's back up here. And then I'll quickly fix the color so we can all see what that looks like. There you go. So there we are. We've made slow progress. And so far, we've built our hero image and our header. Okay. So we're going slowly, but I hope you guys are finding this useful and me explaining what each of this line of code does. Now, if you do get the code, on Slack, I encourage you to open your DevTools, okay, and then come over here. Just quickly come over here to where this code is, and then untick these blue squares, okay, and then just see what the code does. Reverse engineer it. So if you untick something and then something happens, try and see what it does. Try and understand what's happening. You do this, okay? So that's one way you can learn. Reverse engineer what we do so you make sense of it, all right? But yes, we've come to the end of our lesson. Apologies I wasn't able to be there yesterday, but yeah, definitely work on this, and then we'll continue to work on this during the week. All right. But thank you for coming, guys. I hope you're enjoying your weekend, and I hope you're going to have a pleasant weekend after this. So it's goodbye for now, but I'll post this code on Slack for you. All right. It's thank you from me, and back to Mr. Philip.